20 years, Deborah. And that doctorate is still the most expensive piece of paper in the county.
The Thanksgiving table quiets. Deborah doesn't flinch. She reaches for the gravy boat without looking up.
Studied her life away. And for what? No husband, no house, no real career.
Across the table, Marcus smirks and swirls his wine.
My cousin, the doctor. Too bad. It's not the kind that prescribes anything useful.
Claire glances away, her fingers tight on her napkin. She says nothing.
She spent years in labs. Look at her now. Nothing to show for it.
Deborah passes the gravy boat, her hand steady, her expression calm.
Some of us work for a living, Deb. You wouldn't know what that's like.
The family laughs, forks clink, and Deborah sits among them, a stranger, her life's work a punchline.
Remember when she turned down that teaching job at the community college? Said it was beneath her.
And she's never had a serious relationship. Who would put up with that kind of obsession?
Deborah's knuckles whiten around the fork. She doesn't speak.
She's 47 and still rents an apartment. Her cousin Marcus owns a real estate firm.
At least my kids know what I do. Deborah's kids, if she had any, wouldn't even know her name.
Her hand trembles almost imperceptibly, then steadies beneath the tablecloth. Claire's phone rests on her lap. She checks it, then looks up.
The only thing she ever published was her dissertation, and no one read it, not even her committee.
Publish or perish. Deb, looks like you chose the wrong one.
The table murmurs with amusement. Deborah releases her fork. Claire's phone fades to black. The turkey grows cold on the platter.
That's the tragedy of ambition without direction. She'll wake up old and realize she wasted her entire life.
Before the words settled, a vibration buzzed across the tablecloth. Claire's phone, face down beside her plate, lit up like a distress flare. She picked it up absently. A notification. Her finger rose to swipe it away. Then stopped. She stared, scrolled. Her lips parted. The color drained from her face. The table fell silent. Marcus lowered his wine glass. Eleanor's fork clattered onto her plate.
What's happened? Claire, answer me.
It's Deborah. The university released something. A statement.
What did she finally publish? Something somebody read?
Claire didn't reply. She simply turned the phone around. The screen faced the table like a verdict. And in the hush, the only movement was the flicker of candlelight. Deborah, lost in her own quiet, had not yet looked up.
Mom, please look at this. It's about Deborah.
What now? Another journal no one reads?
Eleanor snatched the phone. Her eyes scanned the screen, and then stopped. The color left her cheeks. Marcus pushed his chair forward, straining to see. His smug smile vanished the moment he caught a word. Deborah noticed the stillness. She looked up from her plate, brow furrowing.
Is something wrong?
Eleanor stared at her daughter, her lips parted, as if every word she had ever spoken had been struck from her tongue. The phone trembled in her grip. On the screen, Deborah's photograph gazed out from an article none of them had expected. Marcus leaned over Eleanor's shoulder, his breath held. The pride he had worn all evening evaporated into utter stillness, and still no one answered. The question floated over the cold gravy and the half-eaten stuffing, unanswered.
What is this, Deborah? What have you done?
It appears to be a recognition from the university. They made an announcement today.
A recognition. Don't be absurd. They've clearly made a mistake. Or it's some kind of hoax.
Probably another Deborah, a different researcher with the same first name. The internet mixes things up.
No, it's her. That's her photograph. I know my own sister.
Eleanor's jaw set. She stared at the article as if the words might rearrange themselves into something less threatening.
If it's you, then tell us what it's for. What could you possibly have done to deserve whatever this is?
It is an acknowledgement of my research. That's all.
Your research. That's a joke, right? No one cares about your lab experiments.
The room divided into belief and denial, but Deborah only folded her hands and waited, as if she had been waiting for 20 years.
Number. I refuse to believe my own daughter is capable of anything that would make a university put her name on a building.
Deborah did not rise. She reached for her water glass.
Claire read it. Read the article aloud. Every word. Let's hear the nonsense they're printing.
It says Dr. Deborah's pioneering work in polymer sequencing, and then there's a photo, details. I can't.
Marcus snatched the phone from Claire's trembling hand.
It mentions 17 global patents and a royalty fund that financed the entire science wing. This has to be a mistake.
17 patents. She's never patented a single thing. She's been living off grants and pity her whole life.
A single drop trembled on the rim of Deborah's glass, then stilled. She neither flinched nor hurried. The room erupted into a cacophony of denial. Relatives murmured, forks clattered, but no one could look away from Deborah.
I know my own daughter. She's never had the ambition. This is some kind of cruel joke.
Wait, I've got the university's official release. It says, the Deborah Research Hall named in honor of Dr. Deborah, whose groundbreaking work this is real.
The words landed like a physical blow. Eleanor's hand, still clutching the phone, went slack. The screen dimmed. She sank back into the chair, the old frame groaning. For the first time all evening, she had nothing to say. Claire pressed a hand to her mouth, but the tears escaped anyway, rolling silently down her cheeks.
It's dated this morning. It's been verified. There's a photograph of the building. It's actually her.
That's not possible. She couldn't have. I would have known.
Deborah remained motionless, her hands folded on the table, her expression giving away nothing. Marcus set the phone down on the tablecloth, the screen still glowing. No one reached for it. The only sound in the room was the soft clink of a fork. Someone had knocked against a plate, and the muffled catch in Claire's breath, and Deborah sat still, as if the silence was a language she had learned long ago.
Is it true, Deborah? All of it.
Deborah lifted her eyes, meeting her mother's stare for the first time. She gave a single, calm nod.
20 years, you let us think you were a failure. Why? Why would you hide this from us?
I haven't hidden anything, Mother. You never asked.
The sentence cut through the room. Marcus stopped swirling his wine. Claire's hand halted halfway to her mouth, fingers trembling.
We asked. We asked about your research.
You never asked.
Eleanor's mouth opened, then closed. No retort came. The authority she had worn all evening evaporated like breath on a cold window. The silence that followed was heavier than any argument. The clink of forks, the laughter of minutes before they belonged to another evening. Only the weight of the unanswered question remained, and Deborah folded her hands and waited as if she had done this 1,000 times, because she had. The next move was theirs.
You asked me when I'd get a real job, when I'd settle down, when I'd stop wasting my time. Not once did you ask what I was discovering.
Claire's eyes widened, a puzzle piece snapping into place after 2 decades. Marcus shifted in his seat, suddenly unable to meet Deborah's gaze. Eleanor opened her mouth, but no words came. The air felt thin.
I learned early that my work didn't belong at this table.
The family sat in a silence that felt like a verdict read aloud. Even Aunt Helen, who always nodded along, looked away, her lips pressed thin. Deborah's voice had no anger, only the weight of years, and in that silence, the distance between her and them was measured in something deeper than miles.
You can't just drop this on us and expect praise. If this is real, show us proof.
You are holding the proof. The building exists. That is what I did.
I've got the full press release. It's extensive. Patents, licensing, the endowment.
The phone screen glowed with the university's crest and Deborah's photograph. The words crowded the display, too many to dismiss. Eleanor stared at the phone, her lips forming the numbers but not speaking them.
The hall was made possible through the philanthropic support of Dr. Deborah herself.
She donated the building. Mom, it's her. It's always been her.
The family's murmurs faded. One by one, they looked from the screen to Deborah, and then quickly away. Deborah remained still, offering no explanation beyond what the university had already said. And in the hush, the next question hung unspoken. If this was true, what else had they never asked?
So you let us mock you all these years, and now you spring this on us at Thanksgiving to humiliate us.
I didn't choose the timing, Mother. The university announced today. I came here for dinner, same as always.
Eleanor's mouth worked, as if tasting something bitter. She sat back heavily. Deborah's expression softened, but her eyes remained steady. The family exchanged glances, the laughter of earlier now a distant, uncomfortable memory. Marcus opened his mouth to say something, then closed it. There was nothing left to mock. Claire's hand trembled on the table, but she didn't reach out. The only movement was the flicker of candle flame, casting shadows on the china. The gravy boat sat between them, cold and untouched, a silent witness to the wreckage. The question was no longer whether the building was real. It was how much else they had never bothered to see.
And the scholarships. They've been the quiet part for a decade.
Scholarships? You've been giving away money?
What are you talking about? What scholarships?
For 10 years, I've anonymously funded science scholarships for students from our hometown.
The family knew the program, the Maplewood Science Grant. Every spring at the town hall, they'd applaud the winner, never knowing the name behind the generosity. Eleanor's fork slipped from her fingers and clattered onto the china, the sound sharp as a gunshot.
That was you. All those years, the entire town thought it was some anonymous corporation.
I never put my name on it. I just wanted to give back.
The silence that followed was heavier than before. They were realizing the woman they mocked had been quietly funding their neighbors' futures. Eleanor stared at the fallen fork, her hand frozen. The building was one thing. This was a truth she couldn't swallow. In the stunned quiet, Deborah pushed her chair back and stood. She reached for the nearest plates, stacking them without ceremony.
I'll start cleaning up. It's been a long day.
Deb, wait.
Deborah shook her head slightly and gestured for Claire to stay. Eleanor's hand lifted from the table, as if reaching, but the words never came. It fell back to the cloth, limp and wordless. Deborah moved toward the kitchen, the stack of plates steady in her hands. Behind her, the family sat frozen, the silence now a trembling thing. Her chair sat empty, a used napkin on the plate, a gravy boat still within reach. No one spoke. The only sound was the soft creak of the kitchen door, and beyond that door, the quiet clink of dishes began. A rhythm that felt like a farewell none of them had earned.
You can't just walk away after dumping this on us, Deborah.
At the kitchen door, Deborah paused. The stack of plates balanced in her hands like something precious.
I've carried this for years, Mother. Tonight I just wanted to eat dinner.
Without waiting for an answer, she stepped through and let the door swing shut. A low murmur rippled through the table. Marcus pushed his chair back and stood, mouth open, then sat again without a word. Claire rose, her chair scraping the floor. She didn't look back as she followed Deborah into the kitchen. In the kitchen, Claire found her at the sink, water running, her back turned. Eleanor did not follow. She stared at the phone. The screen still bright with Deborah's image, her own reflection ghostly behind it. And in that divided house, the reckoning was only beginning.
Why didn't you tell me, Deb? All these years, even me.
Because you were the only one who ever asked about my work. But even you never spoke up when they tore into me.
The water stopped. Deborah's hands curled around the edge of the sink, her shoulders rigid.
I didn't know how. I was afraid of making it worse.
I know. That's why I never blamed you. They were my cross, not yours.
The faucet dripped. The clock ticked. Then Claire closed the space. She wrapped her arms around Deborah from behind, pressing her face against her shoulder. Deborah's breath caught. Her shoulders relaxed, and her hands came up to hold Claire's arms, as if anchoring herself.
I am sorry. I should have been braver.
In the quiet kitchen, they held each other, a fragile peace after years of separate battles. In the dining room, Eleanor hadn't moved. The phone lay before her, Deborah's photograph glowing like a second conscience.
She funded the entire science wing and Helen. That's millions.
Aunt Helen pressed a hand to her mouth, her face draining of color.
We were wrong, every single one of us.
The silence that followed was thick with unspoken shame.
All those years. I never even asked her what she did. I just assumed.
Marcus pushed the phone toward the center of the table, its light too much to bear alone.
She was right here every Thanksgiving. We never thought to ask a single meaningful question.
I raised her. I thought I knew everything. She was my daughter.
And from the kitchen, the faint sound of running water continued. The only proof that Deborah hadn't already left. The kitchen door swung open. Deborah stepped back into the dining room, her hands empty now, her face unreadable. Every head turned. The murmur died instantly, swallowed by a silence so deep it felt like held breath. Eleanor straightened in her chair, her lips parting as if to speak, but no sound came. Deborah walked to the head of the table. Her footsteps measured on the old wood floor. Claire stopped in the kitchen doorway, her eyes wet, and gave a small, almost imperceptible nod toward their mother. Deborah's gaze swept the table, from her mother to Marcus to Aunt Helen, and in each face she saw the same dawning fear. Marcus met her eyes for a heartbeat, then dropped his jaw tightened, but he said nothing. She let out a breath, quiet and steady, as if steadying herself for the words that had waited decades. The candle flames flickered without wind. No one coughed. No one dared. And then, in the silence that had replaced a lifetime of mockery, Deborah began to speak.
17 patents. Global licensing. The royalties built a new science wing. That building carries my name. The Deborah Research Hall. I never mentioned it because no one here ever asked what I'd done with my life. You asked when I'd earned something real. You never asked what I was building.
Eleanor's face collapsed. The scorn that had lined her every Thanksgiving fractured into a single shuddering breath. Marcus couldn't meet her eyes. His wine sat untouched, a mirror of his own empty words. The phone on the table still glowed with the article, the proof they had demanded. Now an indictment of every sneer, and across the city, the Deborah Research Hall stood, its nameplate catching the evening's last gold. Deborah paused. She let the silence stretch, a mercy none of them had offered her. The family sat motionless. The candles flickered. The turkey grew colder, and no one could speak.
I funded 12 students from this county. Full scholarships, all 4 years. Their parents are here tonight. They raised a glass at this table and never knew.
Eleanor's lips trembled. She pressed her fist to her mouth, but the sob escaped anyway. Marcus could not lift his head. His shoulders shook once, then stilled. Claire wept silently, her face a map of pride and heartbreak.
I hid it all because I wanted to be loved for who I was, not for what I could give. I just wanted my mother to see me. That was all.
The plea hung between them, unanswered. Deborah's voice was the calm at the center of the storm, and it did not break. She gave them silence, more than they had ever given her, and waited.
I never mentioned it because nobody ever asked what I did. But now you know.
She reached for her own plate first, then stacked others, as if clearing away the evening's wreckage.
Thank you for the dinner, Mother. It was memorable.
She moved toward the kitchen, the plates steady in her arms, her face unreadable. Eleanor's hand rose, fingers trembling, and halted just short of Deborah's sleeve. She didn't turn. The kitchen door swung shut with a soft click. The family remained frozen, their faces a study in shock and shame. Eleanor dropped her head into her hands. The phone lay face down, its light extinguished, the candles guttered. The gravy boat sat untouched. The meal was over, and the silence stretched, deeper than any argument, and no one moved. The dining room held its breath. Eleanor remained at the head of the table, her hands now limp in her lap. Marcus pushed back his chair, the scrape of wood against floor the only sound. He stood, looking at his phone, then at the dark kitchen door. The phone still lay on the table, Deborah's face a ghost on the screen. The article's headline glowed in the dimming light. Eleanor reached for the phone, her fingers trembling an inch above the glass. Then she withdrew, pressing her fist to her chest. The other relatives began to gather their things, movements hushed, as if the air itself was fragile. Through the window, the sky was a deep indigo, the last amber of dusk swallowed by night. The candles on the table guttered, their flames shrinking to blue wavering tongues. Eleanor did not move. The silence around her was thicker than any argument. The dining room was almost empty now, the table a landscape of forgotten plates and cold gravy. And through the kitchen door, the faint clink of dishes continued, a quiet, steady rhythm that didn't stop. Across the city, the Deborah Research Hall stood under the deep blue of evening. Warm light spilled from its windows, the nameplate catching the last line of gold from the vanished sun. The bronze plaque was a simple rectangle, but it carried a weight that no Thanksgiving table had ever offered. In the kitchen, Deborah hung her apron on the hook beside the window. The fabric settled with a soft rustle. She leaned against the counter and looked out the window into the night. A sliver of moon hung above the bare branches, the tension she had carried through the meal, finally released. Her shoulders dropped. Her breath came slow and even. For the first time that evening, her face was unguarded. There was no need to perform, no need to protect. She closed her eyes. The only sound was the hum of the refrigerator and the distant creak of the settling house. The wreckage of the evening was still in the next room, but here there was only stillness. And across the city, the Deborah Research Hall stood, a monument to a truth that had waited 20 years. The name would still be there in the morning, long after this night had drifted into memory.